Want to miss a moment of this program, and oftentimes you want to share with your friends. And by the way, you can also listen live online. I'm pleased to welcome back to the Schilling Show Gregory Wrightstone, a geologist and author of the book Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know. Today's topic, something that has not been discussed and analyzed, and Gregory's done a great job, the El Paso shooter's extreme environmentalism. Gregory Wrightstone, welcome back to the Schilling Show.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, he's got a lot in common with a number of other mass shooters, including the Unabomber and the Christchurch, New Zealand shooter, in terms of his radical left-wing extreme environmentalist opinions.
Yeah, I think this is really important for people to make these connections. You know, we looked at his manifesto, and it was a confusing document in some ways because it seemed to be a lot of interesting either contradictions or unexplained things. But let's talk about the Unabomber first of all, and then I want to go to Christchurch. What are the similarities?
Well, both of these, the Unabomber and the Christchurch shooter both embrace this idea that man is destroying the earth, and that we need to do something to basically thin the herd. And that was the same underlying thing. Now, make no mistake, the El Paso shooter was the overarching theme of him was he hated immigrants,
right? And
that he wanted the United States broken up into territories, one territory for each race. I mean, he had this invectives against race mixing and a Hispanic invasion of Texas, but underlying all of this was his belief in this what's called a Malthusian idea of overpopulation, that the earth can only handle so many people, and the earth is being degraded because of overpopulation. In fact, I'll just quote a couple sentences from him. I don't want to do too much, but yeah. He said, our lifestyle is destroying the environment of our country. The decimation of the environment is creating a massive burden. And then he goes on to say, y'all are just too stubborn to change your lifestyle. So the next logical step is to decrease the number of people in America using resources. If we can get rid of enough people, then our way of life can become more sustainable. So basically, he was advocating not so much that he needed to kill a bunch of immigrants, which is what it turned out to be, or people not like him, but that the underlying reason was this idea of overpopulation, and that we're in this course of an Earth that's spiraling into one climate apocalypse after the other. And the thing that I want people listening here to understand is that I've never met anyone that holds these racist, immigration opinions like he does. I bet none of your listeners have. They don't know any white supremacists. But I bet they know a whole lot of people that hold very similar environmental opinions as this guy. In other words, that man's excesses and emissions are leading to an Earth that's going to be destroyed in 10 or 12 years. A lot of people believe that, and there's a lot of people that inflame that rhetoric. I mean, even you look at some of the well-known people, like in my blog and my commentary, I quoted Sir David Attenborough, who said we're a plague on the earth. Prince Charles said if he was reincarnated, he wanted to come back as a deadly virus.
Oh, my goodness. Because
he wanted to they want to thin the herd. They think there are too many people. And we have people, a lot of people have stated publicly, including David Suzuki and Bill Nye, the non-science guy, that skeptics, anyone that talks about climate change not in the approved manner, like myself, need to be jailed. They're strongly of the opinion that I should be jailed for this, because I'm trying to fight against this nonsense of this climate catastrophe.
I'm glad you brought it up. We have a locally elected representative, duplicitous David Descano, who some years ago on this very same topic told people here locally that perhaps the climate deniers, as he called them, should not be allowed to speak at public meetings. And that's where it starts. You shut them up first, and then I guess you go after them physically after that.
Yeah. first you come after first they came for the science deniers, and then they came for the religion deniers, and they're trying to silence people like me. I'm a geologist. I provide science and fact-based, rational opposition to an idea that we've got man-made catastrophic warming. I see a planet that's thriving and prospering, and humanity's benefiting because of rising temperature and increasing CO2. It just is, and it's not even close. It just is. And what they're doing is I'm sorry, I get worked up about this. I get so angry sometimes that it's just the biggest loser in this whole thing is the scientific process. And as a scientist, I get irate about it. They don't want any scientific discussion. What I bring up is what's actually happening today. What they're doing when you hear things read it in the paper or the news on CNN or any other fake news network, what you're hearing are predictions of what may or may not occur 30, 50, or 100 years in the future that are based on failed climate models. And if we actually look at those things that they're predicting that are going wrong, what's actually occurring is that these things, we're seeing improvement. If we look in history's rearview mirror, all we see are any category, we see tremendous improvements. If it's life expectancy, food production, forest fires are decreasing, drought is decreasing. These things, we're all being told that just the opposite is occurring. And that's just not so. Earth is thriving and prospering and greening. We see, especially the greening of the Earth, up to 50% of the Earth is what they call greening. Vegetation's increasing. That's huge.
Yeah, I want to go to this whole issue of the left's attacks on climate skeptics, and I know in your piece you talk about a couple of direct attacks against you. I want people to understand the nature of these attacks because they're not all rhetorical. I mean, some of them are physical attacks or threats of physical attacks.
Yeah, it was a year ago. I spoke in St. Louis. I'm going back in a couple of weeks to speak at the same convention. We had 3 Antifa protesters that got up while I was speaking. They paid to get in, and then got up, and the guy came right up to me, poking me in the chest, saying, you have the blood of Puerto Rico victims on your shoulders, and if scientists lie, people die. They had bullhorns. We've seen John Christie, a climatologist. He had a year and a half ago, the morning of Earth Day, he had 7 shots fired into his office from a long rifle. There's things like that, and I get a lot of hate. There's here's one I just got yesterday. Her last, she signed off with this: "Have fun with that, you money-hungry pig. Wow. You don't belong on this planet, you blanking virus."
Wow.
Okay, that's what I got yesterday. And it's these people, I'm telling you, they're being incited, and these people like Al Gore and the rest, these climate alarmists, are spreading fear. They're fearmongers, spreading lies and fear to work up people like this deluded poor soul that emailed me.
So what we need to do and what we need to find out here is to connect the points, Gregory, about why people are doing this. I mean, there are certainly a lot of deranged people, but what's behind this? What's behind Al Gore and the rest of this crew?
Yeah. Well, for Al Gore, he's made a lot of money, a whole lot of money.
Yes.
Money's behind it. When I'm asked that question, I'm a scientist. I provide the science, the facts, and the data to you and your audience. And you know what? You and every single member of your audience is just as qualified as I am to say why they're doing it.
Yeah.
I can show you that your audience is being lied to on a daily basis. I can show them this is what they're telling you. This is what the facts are. And we can show that, day after day after day, these big things that they're telling us, like the climate extinction that I exposed, just aren't happening. And they're trying to get away with and almost do get it. Well, they often get away with it. I mean, they predicted 1 million extinctions over several decades, and that would require 25,000 to 30,000 extinctions per year to get to that number. I looked at the actual data that the same UN report used, and what the average was over the last 40 years per decade?
Tell us.
Per year was 2. 2, not 2,000, not 200, 2 per year. And for what they were saying, that there were soon going to be 25,000 to 30,000 extinctions per year, but yet there's only 2 species going extinct per year. That's how blatant this is, and they get away with it.
Well, the media's in the bag, too, because the reporting on all of this goes along the same lines. You know, the science is settled. These other people are deniers and so on and so forth. And so we've got pretty much everybody conspiring against, I guess, the scientific method and science itself.
Yeah, you do. And that's why I wrote the book, Inconvenient Facts, for non-scientists to get this information. Now, I want to disseminate these inconvenient facts out. And one of the things your listeners could do, we have a smartphone app that we released. If they just go to the App Store or Google Play Store, you can download it. Just search for Inconvenient Facts. And that gives you all the 60 inconvenient facts from my book in the palm of your hand. And it's a powerful tool for you and your listeners to use to get all this information. If your idiot nephew Billy tells you that's majoring in sustainable development at Florida State, tells you that polar bears are going extinct, you might go, wait a minute, Billy, here's fact number 52, here's 60-year population of polar bears, Billy, and Billy goes, oh, well, and that's the power of having this information. So wherever you are, you can call up this information and dispel some of this nonsense.
Indeed, and I hope people take advantage of it. Gregory Wrightstone, how can we get the book? How can we get the app? And where can we visit you online?
Well, it's available on Amazon, Inconvenient Facts, but I'd encourage people to go to my website, inconvenientfacts.xyz, and if you do nothing else, go to the videos and watch the video where I relate the witch hunts of the late Middle Ages in Europe to climate change. Fascinating. We should talk about that some other time.
We certainly will. I look forward to that. Gregory Wrightstone, thank you for joining us today on The Schilling Show.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, let's go to a quick break.